Well, I mean, I was wondering how long it was going to take for us to get to the Fire Bobo, and it was approximately one series.
Welcome to My God Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 48-7 season opening win over UT Martin. We talk about our experiences on Saturday, as well as what stood out to us during the game. As always, remember to check out the newly redesigned MyGottaPodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at OxiaTime.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress.
So, how was your weekend? How was the lake?
It was good. Weekend was good. We had a later start on Saturday. So, I had mentioned that Lily wanted to go to the game. She did go to the game, but she also had a birthday party Friday night, and it was like a dinner out and then a sleepover. So we didn't leave North Carolina until like 10 o'clock, and then went and met up with my mom and dad, my sister, brother-in-law, and their kids, on Hartwell. So basically, then Lily and I and my sister and family, that's who all went to the game. So my parents stayed back at the house with Kim and Ella, and they watched from the lake. But had a great weekend on the lake. Lots of tubing, dock time, college football, good food, good beer, good bourbon, good people. So it was a good weekend.
Did you get slung across the lake like a cannonball?
I didn't, but I slung my kids around the lake. I'm too old. I'm too old for tubing. I like struggle because like I was always the kid tubing with my dad pulling me, and so it's like I'm not a good tubing driver, like full admission. Like I struggle. I'm like, wait, how do I get him out the wake again? And like I'm not good at like slinging them appropriately. And I finally got a lot better at it this weekend. So I'm learning. I'm still learning.
Oh,
I try to get better at that.
I can't. I'm pretty good at getting the kids out of the wake and all that stuff when we rent the pontoon boats. But like, I can't imagine. Like, it would be so much easier if I had like a regular boat, like a ski boat.
Yeah, that's what my parents have. So I've got
Yeah,
it. I've got it pretty down by the end of this weekend now. So I think I've got it.
there you
we
go.
had some good ones. And like on a holiday weekend, I think I was telling you this. I was texting you earlier. Like there's a lot of boats too, like just on the holiday weekend. So you don't even have to make your own waves. You can just kind of sling them through some passing by boats wake. It's pretty fun.
One of my favorite lake memories is actually with Tim Riley when we went to Ty's house
Mm.
and we were on the jet skis, and I remember holding on for dear life because we were getting slung across the lake at like 70 miles an hour.
Right. Right.
So I can't imagine what that would feel like today.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, that's why I'm not messing with anything like that.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
messing with that stuff. Uh,
Shout out Riley and Ty Bridges.
yeah, for real. Well, how was your weekend? I know you had some folks out of town. You stayed back.
Yeah, it was my turn to stay at the home front. Lindsay and my oldest daughter Carly, she's turning 16. Technically, she doesn't turn 16 until Friday. We have the same birthday, so we have a birthday on Friday. But
Yeah.
she went out of town to go to the mountains with a bunch of girlfriends and her aunt. And so it was a little girl weekend up in Blue Ridge. So I was back with Carter and the other two younger ones. And then we had some folks over. It was kind of a guy's day at the house over here. Although his wife showed up, my friend Kyle, and my neighbor,
Yeah.
and another neighbor came to kind of hang out. And I seasoned up some wings, and he offered to smoke them, so we threw them on his smoker while I got everything else ready. And
Nice.
yeah, it was great. Seasoned up a bunch of different wings. Carter is a big lemon pepper fan, so we got some lemon pepper for him. I dabbled with a couple of other options. I had a Thai chili Japanese kind of seasoning. and then I had a barbecue seasoning, and then I have a neighbor of mine makes his own hot sauce, and I did a little three chili kind of hot sauce situation with ghost pepper, Carolina Reaper, and sriracha.
I mean, you got to watch out for the Carolina Reaper.
It was pretty hot. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty good though. Matter of fact, we had a couple of wings left over afterwards, and I wasn't sure which ones they were. Lindsay was like, "Do you guys have any leftover wings?" Because she loves smoked wings.
Got
And
it.
then I got home and I was like, here's a couple that are left over because Carter ate the bulk of the leftovers yesterday while we were gone. We went to a friend's house to swim at a buddy's pool. And he's a big Georgia fan too. So we were talking about the game, but Lindsay got home today and she opened up one of the wings and ate it and was like, "Oh my God, this is so spicy." I was
Nice.
like, you got the last one."
Right. Right. Nice. Yeah, we did barbecue and then we did burgers last night, but today we had a bunch of leftover barbecue. So we had like leftover Brunswick stew and we made barbecue like pulled pork nachos with all our leftovers.
Ooh,
And
that's a good
it
idea.
was amazing. So that was a nice way to finish off the weekend before heading back home. In which I did hit traffic in Gaffney, as I guess should have been expected.
I mean, I almost meant to tweet about that, like, thoughts and prayers to everyone driving to and from the Gaffney area for the game this weekend.
It was fine on Saturday. We had a little bit of traffic leaving Charlotte Saturday morning. I mean Labor Day weekend, not too crazy. But yeah, after that it was fine. So yeah, but today we were like dead stop in Gaffney. So like shocking. Again, Monday, Labor Day weekend, I should have known. So got home a little late, but we made it back in time to record.
Excellent.
So, I was to say, so like with the later departure, like didn't get a whole lot, like in the tailgating area, basically kind of got on campus, walked and kind of did a drive-by and was able to just kind of have a quick visit and say hello to some folks. So stopped by Greg's tailgate, and then kind of swung around, went by Hug Dog's tailgate, saw Hunter there, which we were not like, did not have that plan. So shout out to Hunter. We got like super excited. We randomly saw each other. So that was a lot of fun. I'll tell you, John. So we did not attempt to walk across the bridge like with the path we were going, right? But we saw some silver dogs because they were holding up like the Natty logo. And so we all got our picture taken with the new back-to-back Natty logo. We held up a sign that they had for us. And the silver dogs took our picture with my sister's camera. And then I asked them, like, "Hey, how's everything going with the bridge today?" Because I know that was your big your question was like, what are the silver dogs be saying? But since they were down like by gate 10, they didn't know yet. So they were like, we'll have to find out later. So didn't get much info out of them, but I didn't walk past it, so I'm not sure. And then headed on into the stadium. So like I said, it was kind of a brief, we just kind of we just had a nice stroll into the stadium and instead of tailgating. So it was still fun.
I did see some of the things that happened that I was afraid of happening.
Yeah.
Not publicly, but I had heard and seen pictures of exactly what I was fearful of: handicapped folks not being able to get through and not knowing where to go in the pitch black. So
yeah.
I would say that largely I didn't see a whole lot of that online, but like one time is too many in my opinion. But
Yep. Agreed.
So I have a feeling that they still have some kinks and items to work out on that in that regard. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I went to mention that I forgot to, I did get a question when I was over visiting with Greg. I saw Bubby Dean, and Bubby asked me where he could get one of these hats. So I'm wearing the white My God Podcast rope hat. That's what I wore to the game. So we mentioned last time we have a new website. Shout out to Working Web Media. They helped us put the new website up. and a new store is coming to be part of the website. So if you're listening to this, I'm not 100% sure it'll be there, but it'll definitely be there by the end of the week, by the time our Ball State preview comes out. So you can go check that out, mygottapodcast.com. And again, be sure to reach out to Working Web Media. If you got a small business and need some help with your online presence, just head on over to workingwebmedia.com/dogs. That's DAWGS spelled the right way. So Bubby coming soon. He's like, where can I get one?
Yeah, we're gonna get some tweets out there because he's not the only one that's been asking for those hats.
Okay. They're on the way. So went into the stadium. One thing I wanted to call out, because John, with you watching on TV, I don't know if this made it through to the broadcast at all or not. But they did do a Sonny Seiler tribute on the Jumbotron before the game. I was up visiting with Coach Trillbill actually when that happened. So we were able to watch that. It was pretty cool. Tribute to Sonny, had like a on field dedication, acknowledgement, and then a moment of silence. So that was nice. It was very well done.
I did not see that on the broadcast.
Okay. So
it's possible I could have missed it, but I don't recall that coming up.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched it. I mean, it was pre-kickoff, so with it being a streaming game, it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't have shown it. So
right,
but yeah, then we were on to the game. I mean, the game was, I guess it was kind of what. Well, let me say this: I can't say it was far from what we expected, John, because I said 48-3, you said 48-12, and the game was 48-7. So it was about what we thought.
We split the baby.
So wasn't far off there. But I mean, like when we play teams like this, that's kind of what we do against an opponent like that. I think a lot of people were kind of expecting to see us pick off where we left off against TCU and look like that. And I mean, we didn't look like that all last year, right? Like until that game. So I definitely wasn't expecting to see that. I think, maybe some of the points came later than I thought they would. I definitely, had predicted more touchdown passes from Beck than he threw. But, at the end of the day, lesser opponent, we played a ton of guys. I don't recall any new injuries really that came out of the game. So got out of there healthy. I think it, obviously it was a win, but I don't know. I'm not, sky is not falling. For me, I know it is for some people.
Well, I mean, I was wondering how long it was going to take for us to get to the Fire Bobo, and it was approximately one series.
Yes.
And to the boys' credit in the room, so Carter was here with my neighbor has two boys as well. One of their boys is a freshman in high school, and the other one is a fourth grader at the elementary school that my kids go to. And and the fourth grader was like, "Man, we're awful." I was like, "Come on, dude! I need some positive energy in here because I'm definitely going to jump off the cliff with you pretty soon."
Right.
But I think that it's I mean, a lot of hype, a lot of energy coming in. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was apparently really hot as well in the stadium, right?
It was super hot. Like I was not comfortable. Lily somehow was wearing a sweatshirt because like she's 14 and that's what they do. Yeah. I was like, I am dying. Like, how are you still wearing this sweatshirt? She's like, I'm fine. Like when the sun went down, it was great. Like it was amazing when the sun went down. But where we sit, we're not shaded. So like we had the full brunt of the sun. It was hot. Yeah. So it was very hot.
Yeah. So I mean, you had a number of factors coming in there. Everybody's getting their first jitters. And here's the thing, like, so I'm gonna fast forward quite a bit and we can kind of bounce around here. But so like my biggest takeaway was like it felt like the sky was falling for like 20 minutes. And then we started scoring touchdowns, and then all of a sudden we were up 3 scores. Yeah, you'd like to have a 70-0 Oklahoma style situation, but all things considered, like we were pretty much, I mean, we were pretty much controlling the game by and large. It's just that we were just kind of playing with Georgia's playing with our food, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that was really surprising that came out of nowhere was that, UT Martin apparently has like the best punter in the country or something like that. Cause it felt like we were always starting off on the 5-yard line.
Yes, that kid. Well, I mean, it's like Check's notes did not have this in my notes to watch out for the punter.
I did not have the real booming onion.
Right.
If Thorson is the Thunder from down under, like I know that he's not from Australia, but I'm calling him the booming onion.
Yeah, that kid was like Muse was consistently having to like run back. I mean, like because he was kicking it over his head. He's having to run back, like at least 10 yards multiple times from where he was lined up. Yeah, that kid had a heck of a leg. And it was like every one.
Aiden Laros, is that his name?
I don't even know.
Aiden Laros. Remember that name? Kid had 8 punts for 50 yards average.
I think he had one that was like 60 something.
His
long.
He averaged.
Yeah. That was unbelievable. It was. Yeah. I did. Now I'm just remembering our text during the game. I think I texted you during the game. Was like, dude, their punter is the story of the game so far.
Yes. Yeah. Seriously. I mean, so we had the field completely get flipped on us several times because I remember that being like, oh my gosh, well that sucked. Yeah. So that put them behind the sticks. They're ironing out the kinks, and then I kind of slowly walked away from the edge and kind of left the Bobo situation because admittedly, full transparency, dear listener, I was not in a healthy mental state for the first few series because I was just like, what is going on? Like, why are we not just like bending them to our will kind of situation? We're imposing our will, as Kirby says.
Yeah.
And I was right along with the Bobo guys, like fire everybody, like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? But then time wore on, like I said, we scored some touchdowns, and then you get to the third quarter, and it's like at one point they put up a stat that was like, that said that the Skyhawks had like 14 total yards passing, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
I maybe overreacted. I did a little self-reflection in the third quarter and realized that, man, I think I sent you a text message. I was like, we're winning this game by like 5 or 6 touchdowns. They had 14 total passing yards in the third quarter. We're all sick in the head.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to go. So like offensively, something that we were texting about, I'll say, I guess 2 things. One, I will say, the Dog Central subscription price is worth it just for Graham's 12 takeaways. There's other things that go on the site, but his 12 takeaways today were amazing. Go read them. They'll make you feel a lot better. Something that we were texting about Saturday night with Graham and company was just like what I mentioned earlier briefly around like when we play a team like this, right? And like we weren't playing TCU. Don't compare it to that. We weren't playing Clemson. Don't compare it to that. We weren't playing Oregon. Don't compare it to that. Right. So if you were expecting to see Georgia come out firing like we were against Oregon last year, it's a very different situation. That's a much bigger opponent. You're able to motivate the players to play Oregon all off season and come out like that. We played UT Martin like we played Samford. And that was something we talked about with Graham and the DC guys, is if you want to look to a comparison from last season, look to the Samford game, not the Oregon game. Samford, another 1AA opponent. I'm going to give you some passing statistics.
Yeah.
24 of 34 for 300 yards passing with 1 touchdown and then 1 rushing touchdown. What quarterback is that?
In the history of UGA?
Is recent. It's the game I was just talking about. So that was what Stetson Bennett did against Samford last year. Okay.
Right.
And then compare that to Carson Beck this weekend against UT Martin. Carson was 21 of 31 for 294 yards one passing touchdown, and one rushing touchdown. I mean, we did basically the exact same thing against UT Martin this weekend as to what we did against Samford last year offensively, other than we scored more points. We actually had more total yards, and we actually averaged more yards per carry against UT Martin than we did against Samford last year. So, if you want to if you have like the Monken is gone, fire Bobo, sky is falling kind of thing, again, you're thinking about the TCU game, you're thinking about the offense against TCU, Ohio State, and LSU, right? And we didn't always look like that. And we certainly didn't look like that against Samford last year. We didn't look like that against Kentucky last year. This is what Georgia does against teams like this.
Right.
So if for what it's worth.
It's funny you say that. So, when we were kind of getting closer to, okay, this game's in hand, like my buddy's wife like left. She was like, okay, well, we're gonna win this. I'm gonna let you boys have fun. Like she like left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at some point after that, I was like, I feel like to a certain extent, the Kirby Smart and the coaching staff have got to be just like messing with everybody at this point. Like they know that Bobo is going to get a bunch of shtick for running Kendall Milton up the middle on second and long, and getting nowhere with it, right? Like we just kind of have grown to expect that. But then on the flip side of it, and this kind of goes to some of what Graham was talking about on those takeaways, was like, I feel like, and I said this last year, I feel like that this coaching staff just tries to put them in situations of adversity that's I say it's manufactured, but like they kind of like, okay, if this works, great. If it doesn't, at least they'll learn something from it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like they knowing that they have the game in hand, knowing that they could basically throw out an ace card and it would be over if the situation called for it. But knowing that they basically had the game in hand, they just start throwing things out there to see what sticks and to see if they can get some film for guys to learn from. Mm-hmm. And there are definitely situations like that from the film that I feel like that, that like this guy could have gone this way and it would have been a walk-in touchdown if he chose to go that way. Like, and then you also have opportunity to showcase to the linemen, which I think, like, if you really want to get splitting hairs with this team in this game, the line of scrimmage is probably where things are the most concerning, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
we just didn't have like a good edge. Like there was one play where like you would have expected the defensive end to shed his block, and the running back kind of came in and like our defensive end couldn't get in, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere like comes flying in. He wasn't even in the view of the game. It was Malachi Starks. He comes flying down and makes a tackle for no gain or a loss or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like that kind of stuff is how he's going to showcase to this team, like, hey, look, you guys need to do better. We can't rely on Malachi Starks to come, crashing down against LSU in the SEC championship game or against Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
it's just learning moments all throughout that game that I feel like is going to help him to, how do you motivate this team? How do you stay focused? It's kind of manufactured along the way.
Yeah. I mean, I think to stick with the line of scrimmage, I think again, if you're gonna get upset about something, I mean, you used the phrase "impose your will" earlier, right? And like, that's what I usually want to see against teams like this. And like if they're stacking the box, I mean, like should it matter against UT Martin? I don't know. I mean, I know it does, but like there wasn't really anywhere, running up the middle. Like it should work. It didn't. There was nowhere to go. I mean, those guys didn't even have a crease. Like there was nowhere to run. And I mean, when there was a place to run, they got positive yardage. But yeah, on the Kendall Milton with the middle thing, I definitely laughed because there was a point where the guy sitting behind me goes, watch right here. We're going to run up the middle with Kendall Milton. He's going to get 2 yards again. And then like that was the play when Kendall had ripped off like his longest run of the game for like 38 yards. Like it was literally right at that moment it happened. It was hilarious.
Was Aaron Murray sitting behind you? Because Aaron Murray did the exact same thing. He basically said that too. He's like, I don't know. We'll probably see a running back draw. We'll probably see a draw up the middle here.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. So I mean, I think the only, I guess, like play calling gripe would be like running the ball on what, first and goal at the end of the half. But I don't know if you've seen, Kirby actually laughed about that in the press conference and said like, yes, like that was a mistake, we messed up, and like acknowledged it. So hey, I mean, at least they're going to acknowledge it. And coaches don't always do that. Like he could have brushed it off and said like, we're the coaches, we know what we're doing, kind of thing, but he didn't. He actually like admitted that they mismanaged the clock at the end of the half. So I don't know. I like to see when Kirby will admit to stuff like that. So I thought that was good.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of hard for me personally. Like it was difficult sitting in that stadium and listening to all the groaning and the fire bobo. Like it was constant. I mean, like from the first drive, like after like 3 and out, here we go again. It was like it was frustrating for me just like listening to it from all around me. But I mean, I knew it was going to happen. So
Yeah.
let's
Listen,
let's let it play out.
if you're in that camp of like, and I'm saying this to myself, I'm gonna look in the mirror, I'm gonna look in the window in front of me where I can see the reflection. Like if you find yourself in a situation where you're upset that we're not beating UT Martin or Ball State or what's another POS team on our schedule? South Carolina. If you find yourself irritated that we're not winning 70-0 against these teams, just remind yourself that last year this coaching staff was completely like in this like long con thing that Graham talked about, like that.
Yeah.
We were playing super vanilla, super bland, like they're not throwing the kitchen sink at UT Martin. Sorry.
Right.
Like
Yep. Yeah.
like you're gonna see a little bit more creativity. I mean, we saw jet sweep to Brock Bowers, but that was
Yeah.
fairly pedestrian as far as like the look there, right? It was really just like hand the ball off to Brock Bowers, which running back Brock Bowers touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like they weren't playing super complex. They're not gonna show you their hand in the first game,
Yeah.
and
No.
just keep telling yourself that vanilla ice cream turns into, I don't know, Rocky Road or rainbow sherbet, whatever your flavor of choice is down the line, that gets more colorful, right?
Yeah. No, agreed. Let's see, but we did see someone who we had talked about in the preview, and frankly blew up a lot more than I was expecting to, in Mekhi Muse.
Yeah, it was midget touchdowns. Inject them into my veins.
So we talked about his touchdown return from the spring game, and let's watch out for him. I didn't expect him to be that integral in the game plan. I felt like he was going to play, and especially come game time when Ladd is out with injury and Rosemy is out seemingly for discipline. Then it makes even more sense. But I mean, first play of the game, got the ball to Muse. The touchdown was amazing, and I don't know, that play looked a heck of a lot like the old Jim Donnan tunnel screen that we used to run back when we were in college, which I'm okay with. I always loved that play. So I don't know, man. That was he was fun to watch. And, he did look kind of like me running down the field, John, at the height.
with dreadlocks on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. He seems like he's kind of like a Mikey Richardson type guy, right? Like he kind of comes out of nowhere, is real shifty, and
yeah,
you've got much more heralded recruits that are surrounding him or whatever. But I think he's a sophomore, right? So like that kind of goes into the whole situation that I kind of was talking about the last episode was, what players can you connect with? And if he's a sophomore, I assume that he was playing scout team and playing with, the ones, twos, and maybe he was, getting rotations with Carson Beck when Carson Beck was playing backup, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they were getting time on the scout team when they were doing game prep on game week, right? So like,
right.
that's how Ladd became Ladd, and Stetson to Ladd became, and we had the law firm, right? Like
Mhm.
that's how those things happen, is they develop that chemistry on those scout team and second team reps, right?
Yeah.
Um, so when you come to this university, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, first of all, and then second of all, you've got to be ready to go at a moment's notice. And when you get your opportunity, you take it. And
Yeah.
in this situation, you got Carson Beck coming in, first year starter. You got everyone else coming in. It's a free game. Like, who's going to connect with the quarterback? In this case, at least in game one, it was Muse, right? So
Yeah.
I think that he was kind of playing the role of Lad McConkey. If I think that he was kind of in that same position, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, Lad wasn't on the field, and he definitely covered up on the speed.
Yeah. For sure.
I
For
would say
sure.
that I would say that to to the Bobo or the people the sky is falling, like, yeah, there's definitely some throws that were out there. Like, for example, Arian Smith was largely with the ones last year, right? Like, that's kind of
Mhm.
goes to the whole chemistry that you have with the folks that are around you the longest, right? So you got Carson, who's overthrowing, Arian Smith, but he's in step with Makai Muse. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll see more of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be. Um,
He looked
I
good though, man.
yeah, no, he looked good. And then I think I think probably some first game jitters. I think Beck, I think, was a little too hyped up, a little too amped up at the beginning. I think he did kind of settle in and calm down later. He's had some inaccurate throws. You mentioned the overthrows. Um, and then also with Lovett, I felt like Lovett maybe struggled a little bit, had a couple of drops, but had the nice long reception near the end of the first half. So I think again, first game for Georgia for both Lovett and Rara. And then again, we didn't have the full complement. So I think, those guys are probably going to be moving around a bit once Ladd's back, and then once Rosemary Jackson is back in the lineup as well.
Listen, guys. We had a hurt wide receiver. I don't really know what to tell you. It's just a tough. You know how it goes.
That's right.
I mean, that's what we've been hearing, right? Like, you
That's
have a
what we've
hurt
been
wide
told.
receiver.
That's what we've been told.
I don't know.
Um, I definitely have a want to backtrack on something because I think it was in the season preview. We had a question around like when the play breaks down, can Carson Beck make things happen with his legs? And I don't know, man. That little dead leg cutback he had on his touchdown run looks a little bit like the mailman. Kind of reminded me of the Pickett, either Mississippi State or South Carolina last year. That was a nice move. I didn't realize Carson had that in him. That was nice.
He did. He did. I think he also had another situation where, had he gone one direction, it would have been a walk-in touchdown.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So all in all, happy with what I saw. Got to see we hit the over on 2.5 quarterbacks. Got to see all three, and I thought both Vandegrift and Stockton looked good when they were in, so that was good.
I agree. I think that if I were to favor one versus the other, I thought that Gunner looked better on his throws, but that's just my personal opinion. But
Interesting.
um, yeah, I thought that Gunner presented other options, but it's hard to really gauge that, because I mean, at
Yeah.
that point we were in mop up time. Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Um, you want to dive into the defense a bit? Is that cool?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Let's take a brief moment before we do that to remind everyone that season 4 of My God, a Podcast is presented by Oxia Time. So Oxia Time is a custom Swiss watch company. So these watches are made in Switzerland. They are automatic watches. There's no battery. You can wind it up at the beginning, and then from there, just walking around automatically winds it. So very nice timepiece. And you've got to check out their Georgia National Championship watch collection. They have many now. You can find all of them at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. And be sure to use code MyGottaPodcast at checkout, and you can get a custom display box for your Georgia National Championship watch. So for the defense, I think I mean, the number one thing that stood out to me is what you mentioned it earlier, but holy cow, Malachi Starks. I mean, he was a phenomenal freshman, and he looks like a super sophomore. I mean, he looks even better than he looked last year.
Yeah, he's going to be. He's. I think he's one of the best defenders in the country.
Yeah, he was flying around. Getting to see him, the way he and Bullard played off each other at safety was something I was really looking forward to. Got to see that, and it played out really well. Really excited about seeing a fully healthy Tyke Smith. He also was all over the place. He looked really
Yeah.
good. So that middle of the defensive secondary was really amazing. We got the answer to the question of, or at least for game one, starter opposite Kamari Lassiter, and it was not Humphrey. So we had Dalen Everett got the nod at the boundary corner opposite Kamari Lassiter. Played well. We saw a bunch of guys rotate in and out, kind of as we expected. But they all I felt like held their own. I don't know, never was really worried. You did mention earlier, I just want to hit back on, I think, again, if you want to nitpick, I guess maybe like backside contain. They had a few runs where quarterback switched directions or someone switched directions and got there and that edge wasn't set. So that was about it, though. I didn't really see anything else. I haven't rewatched the game, full disclosure, but from it being in the stadium, that was one thing. That was the only thing that ever seemed to really work for them.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that stat line and I see, you got Starks, Tyke Smith, Javon Bullard, Dan Jackson, Julian Humphrey, Ja'Cory Thomas. Like, there's not a whole lot of linebackers and defensive linemen in that top tackles
Okay.
Scenario. So I would prefer to not have that many secondary guys making tackles, but
right,
it could be the opponent, could be what they were doing, you know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
I would expect to see, more of our linebacking and defensive line core getting more of those stats so that we're not sitting here talking about Tyke Smith and Malachi Starks so much.
yeah,
Because if our front seven are doing the job that they are supposed to be doing, then those other guys are largely being relied on for pass breakups and interceptions, right?
right. Yeah, fair.
That said, like if we're gonna crash guys down, those seem like to be pretty good players to do so. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll get some guys coming in for getting some heavy defensive numbers. It could be just the way that we're going to go this season. But like we said before, it's going to be game by game, getting better each game. But I do think that there's no sane person would sit here and say we didn't get off the ball. We didn't get as big of a push on either side of the ball in terms of the line play. And I think that that's going to be something that Kirby's going to emphasize from this point forward.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. And then so I did want to ask you about this because again, in the stadium, and I have not rewatched it yet. The touchdown that they scored didn't look like a touchdown to me. To me, it looked like he bobbled it. And then by the time he caught it, he was out of bounds. But I mean, whatever. I mean,
so I was very irritated about that play. I was like, how is that a touchdown? Like the ball seemed like it was moving clearly to me. Like, I don't know.
Okay. So, can't complain too much about what was basically should have been a shutout.
Heck of a play, but
yeah.
I personally didn't see it the way that the review squad did, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Makes sense. And then we got, late in the game, we did start to see, or really, I don't know, throughout the second half, we really got to see, kind of emptied the bench, started to see a lot of the young guys get in there. Had a pick six in the first game of the season, just like we did back in 2021. So freshman Kyron Jones, which John, he is from around here, or here for me. He's from Charlotte. So shout out Kyron Jones. And I started getting text messages from Kim during the game because she was back watching the game with my parents and Ella, that Ella is in love with Kyron Jones. And so he is her new favorite player. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, I love Cameron Jones. He's my favorite." So
Because he's from Charlotte, or
yes, and she's in love with him now. So I don't know.
that's funny.
So yeah, she was like, I was when Georgia's social media had been posting stuff, and I showed her the video. They have a video they put of him with the Savage pads, and she's like, "Dad, like I haven't already seen that yet. Whatever."
What's interesting is that he's listed as a running back.
Yeah, he switched. Yeah, they like already converted him. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe
So
maybe we'll hear more about him later on. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. So that was nice. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like not much else you can say about the defense. We only give up 7 points than what we said, but they picked up, did what we would think there, at least points wise. I think you could nitpick in a couple of places, but they did the Georgia defense thing.
There are plenty of other podcasts where you can go for the nitpicking, but I would say that for this podcast,
Yes.
it pretty much was what we expected, as you could tell from our score predictions. I thought that there would be more. I thought that there would be more garbage touchdowns, garbage points scored, to be perfectly honest. So I appreciate that from a depth standpoint, the boys getting after it. You know, I if you were to tell me before the game that we were going to win by this margin and that we would see 3 quarterbacks play, I'd probably be pretty satisfied with that situation.
Yep. Agreed. The other thing that we learned is kicker. So we had been asked and had talked through that. Would we see Zirkle? Would we see Woodring? And it was Woodring. True freshman. He looked good.
Payday.
That is the that's what we're gonna tout. That's the nickname.
It's payday, boys. Time to cash in.
I got to give you credit. I got to be clear that John came up with that. I mean, that's all you. That's all you. I don't want to try to take any credit. So
I would say, all right. So a couple other things I want to take note of as far as like things that I'm going to watch the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So the running game. We talked about the gaps and things like that. So with that said, they didn't have quite as much space to work with, by and large, especially with such a huge personnel front they were facing, in terms of just the eight men in the box kind of thing. But what I did notice was that once we did get past the line of scrimmage, that their boy, like I felt like that Roderick Robinson, I felt like Kendall Milton, like they were just getting tripped up. Like like we would be in the process of breaking a decent game, and then all of a sudden they would just fall straight to the ground. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that we've touched on with Kendall in the past, is that there are certain backs that you just know, like Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, Noshawn Moreno. Those guys would get wrapped up, or they would get caught, and then they would turn a 2-yard or a 3-yard gain into a 5-yard or a 7-yard gain,
right?
Just by falling forward 3 or 4 yards, right? That didn't seem to pan out in some of the play that I saw. Maybe that's just me, remembering the certain situations, but like I would love to see the guys fight for more yards and have better body control to stay up and not just fall straight down.
So I think 2 things on that. One, I think Kirby would definitely agree with you with Cash Jones. I haven't seen it yet, but I understand he had some choice words for Cash. I think like he was stopped short of a first down. I actually saw Branson Robinson. What I did see on the Jumbotron, you could see Branson Robinson actually was really over there with Cash, talking to him, I think he kind of came over there after Kirby gave him talking to. But then with Kendall, I did see, so shout out to Will Morrison. He did a write-up from Kirby's press conference. I mean, it sounds like Kendall was about maybe 90%. So he's definitely, and like that sounds about right, from when Kirby said that, because he didn't look right. I guess kudos to him for it. Sounded like he basically said, "Look, like I don't want to go into this game with like they already knew Dejan couldn't go, and didn't want it to be just like Rodney Robinson, Cash Jones, you have those guys." Said I'll play. So good for him for toughing through that. So yeah, but I don't know. But I agree, totally agree.
Yeah,
Something to watch. We need
perfectly,
Dejan back, man. We need Dejan back.
I agree. We need the little cannonball back. To be fair, I was surprised to see that Kendall Milton was our leading rusher in terms of carries and things like that. So like I was surprised that he was out there, which I guess, it's either one of two things, right? Either the medical staff cleared him to play that much, and that's what they decided to do, or he just gutted it out. And
Yeah.
either way, like coming back from those hamstring injuries is not easy.
Yeah.
And then especially being a featured back, all those kinds of things. So, one thing, come on. I mean, I guess that maybe they're saving it. They're saving it for the end game. They're probably saving it for like Tennessee or the SEC championship, or like just throw Brock Bowers out there, man.
Yeah. I know. Seriously. Yeah, we didn't. I guess technically we didn't see any handoffs to the running back because what Brock came on around on a jet sweep again. No Dylan Bell at running back. Much. There's much talk about that.
Yeah, like we
no
didn't have
Dylan Bell. He looked good at receiver though. I
he
did
did
think
look
he looked
good. Yeah.
So
I feel like he must have gained a bunch of weight. Like
he did look bigger.
Like, he looks much more muscular than he did
does.
last year.
He does. I agrry. What was your? I think you said did you have another thing you wanted to be watching out for? So I know one was the running backs. Was there another thing?
No, that was pretty much it. Like just
Okay.
watching the running back play in terms of like, getting yards after contact kind of situation.
Got it. Okay.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, wide receiver. Yeah, the drops were certainly something that the drops from Lovett were definitely surprising. I distinctly remember thinking like, come on, Dominic, like the guy's an all SEC player. Like you don't expect him to make those kind of drops, right? Like I think he had 2 drops, right? If I remember correctly. One
There's was 2 that I can remember for sure.
One was for a touchdown, another one was for a pretty long gain. But those are the kinds of things that like you need as a wide receiver when the quarterback, especially a first year starting quarterback, a kid that by and large kind of needs to build some confidence and rapport with the wide receivers, etc. When he puts the ball on the money, like you expect those wide receivers of that caliber to come down with the ball. And if you're not going to come down with the ball in those game situations, you're going to see guys like Muse get more looks. You're going to see guys like Rah get plays downfield. Kirby's going to figure out pretty quickly who's going to make the plays and who's not.
Yep. Agreed. Let's see. Before we wrap, I want to make sure we acknowledge the standings for Coach Truebill's over-unders, John. So
I can't imagine why.
because I jumped out to the early lead. So I am in the lead. I went 5-3 overall. You went 3-5. Plenty of time to make up for that, John. It's okay. So I went 3-0 on offense. I feel, I have a better feeling for the Bobo offense, clearly. No, I'm just kidding. So thank you again, Coach Truebill, for tracking those for us. Much appreciated. And like I said, I got to see Coach Trill before the game, and we visited a little bit at the end of the game as well. So always a good time.
As we kind of like ease out of this game and move into the next phase, I want to point out, dear listener, that as of recording time, Duke is beating Clemson 13-7.
Yes, that is great.
And they are entering the 4th quarter.
Yeah. Labor Day weekend has this recording late. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to talk about such things.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I got back from the lake late. Did you watch? So the only other game I really watched, because we were like, driving all day Saturday and then a night game, I didn't really watch any. Like I caught a little bit of TCU Colorado Saturday, but then I watched LSU get basically throttled, at least in the second half. by Florida State. So that's about all I watched.
When the LSU Florida State game was kind of that was the late game on Saturday, right?
It was Sunday night. It was the Sunday night game.
It was the Sunday night game. Okay.
Yeah. So we watched that.
So Sunday night I was with the kids and did stuff with the kids on Sunday night. So I
Okay.
didn't really watch much at all. Um
It was
I didn't
close until
watch
it
the-
wasn't. Florida State really, I mean, they should have won by 4 touchdowns. LSU had like a garbage touchdown right at the end. So
Nice. I haven't watched. All I saw was the quote about like I just like literally it's like damn son. I don't think that I would have said that out loud, but like he basically said that like we thought we were Georgia, like back to back 2-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs or something like that. Like wow,
Mm.
like blast that on the recruiting trail, right? I have to say like I was really shocked. Like the guy looked like he was going to lose his job today.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. I never liked the Brian Kelly hire. I thought it was kind of a fraudulent hire, but whatever. Enjoy that LSU. It could be you could be in for a bumpy ride this season. I didn't watch that game. I sadly watched like far too much of the Colorado TCU game.
Yeah.
I really wanted to watch the Dion experience, just to see like what they had cooking, and to their credit, like they seem like that they played really well. I don't know if it's like a situation kind of like we were texting about Georgia. Is Georgia Tech good? Like, is
Right.
is Colorado good, or is TCU just terrible again?
Yeah. Yeah.
It
I-
felt
well,
like
on the-
felt like it was a combination of the two in the Colorado game because TCU is
Mm.
awful.
Yeah. Well, and on the Georgia Tech one, it turned out they were just only good for the second quarter, by the way.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't really watch a whole lot. I did not watch a whole lot of games. Like most of my day Saturday was prepping, and then Sunday I tried to, we had the church and then came back and did stuff with the kids all day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch much football.
Yeah. I didn't watch a whole lot either. So, like I said, but good to be back in the swing of things. It was fun to be back in Sanford Stadium. I did mention this earlier. I will say the crowd was like legit. I mean, for a kickoff, season opener against UT Martin, the crowd was there. The crowd was early. The crowd was loud. And I would
That's
say
good.
everyone did what we thought, right? Like everyone stayed for the fourth quarter light show. It was awesome to light up Sanford again. The energy in there was really cool. It was a good day. It was a good day between the hedges. I had a blast.
What so was the light show everything that you hoped it was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was. I thought so. Are you referencing the Nazir Stackhouse tweet? Because he issued a correction.
What do you mean he issued a correction?
So he said that it wasn't what he thought or something like that. But then I think he got some blowback, and he said all he was talking about was that they didn't play Kanye. Like they used to play Kanye Power, and they changed the music. So that's what he was referencing.
Oh, so what do they play? I guess.
Oh gosh, now you're killing me. I can't even remember, and people can yell at the podcast player of choice for what it was because I already forgot. But I'll tell you this: that had already changed the last time they did it, because they did they tried to do it last year at a game, and it wasn't quite really dark enough yet for anything to really work on a 3:30 kickoff game, and they had already changed the music last year. So I actually from that was not expecting it. So
Okay. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because I just watched Duke like march like 90 something yards down the field off of like I think it was an interception or something.
it was a fumble recovery.
A fumble recovery.
Stay on task, John. Stay on task.
Sorry. I cannot stand Dabo. I mean, if they've always used to play power, I guess they should play power. I don't understand.
They changed. No, I'm just telling, they changed it last year. It was already changed. So
they already changed it.
you can't. They don't want to play Kanye anymore. I think it's
Hmm.
understandable.
I guess that makes sense.
So yeah, no, it was good though. It was good. It was. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I enjoyed it. I've got video of it actually. I'll send you the I'll send you the light show.
Oh, there you go.
I recorded it.
You should share it out for the folks.
I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll put that on Twitter. Cool,
Awesome.
man. Well, it was fun talking through it with you. We because we actually hadn't talked really. So that was good. I don't know, as far as schedule wise, we'll see. We're a little bit off schedule with me traveling so much and it being Labor Day weekend. But we'll be back soon to preview Ball State. So
Absolutely. Are you going to be at the game this weekend, or what's your plan this weekend? I
TBD.
guess
Haven't decided yet.
haven't
TBD up in
decided.
the air.
I'm kind of a TBD as well.
Okay. Okay.
I've got to have that conversation with my wife to see like what's going on this weekend.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll have a decision by the time we preview.
We're hopeful.
Hopefully. Nice. Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, good catching up, man. Glad you guys had a good Labor Day, and I hope you did too, dear listener. And go Dogs.
Go Dogs.